All right, so with our gorgeous Miss W, we snuck her out for a quick little potty break, and then I wanted to work a little bit with some play. So I don't know if Miss W has ever had a flirt pole in her life. So flirt poles can be a great way to build sort of an on-off switch with your puppy. It's also a lot of really dog-centric type play, so a lot of chasing and biting and grabbing and shaking. It can be a nice way to also get them a little excited and come back from that. So we'll see if we can do a little bit with some take-its of the item and then practice letting go and sort of building from there. So, excuse me, darn that seltzer. So I'm going to try first with the flirt pole that is not quite as exciting. So depending on the attachment, some puppies get more excited because of one attachment versus another. So this is just one of the many brands. This brand is just called Squishy Face Studio. There's all different varieties out there, so make sure you find one that you would enjoy or you prefer price point wise. This one I kind of like because no matter how big or little the dog is, it works quite well. This is one of the original attachments, which they can come with squeaks or without squeaks. My guys prefer the sheepskin, which I don't know if you can see, but it's on the shelf and it has instead animal hide on the end versus nylon. So with this toy, she's about to take a break. She's like, lady, you're so boring. No, she's just pooped out. So this one does have a handle. The reason I recommend for safety reasons, if yours comes with a handle, is to use it, is this one is a bungee tether here. And if the puppy is pulling and by accident you let go, it's gonna bonk the puppy. The other thing is, my son found out this the hard way, is that the puppy's playing with the other end and they're tugging, which it's not a tuggy toy, but at one point the pup let go and of course it slapped him. So there's gonna be times where I would highly recommend to, if they're tugging, keep it low on the floor and then step on it. So if they were to tug and you're working on practicing that drop it or out, remember leave it is for something that's always off limits. So we'll dive into more leave it's later. But for example, this should be drop it, give, out, release, whatever slogan you'd like for letting go. So typically, she's so tired. We'll see if she wants to play. So she's been doing some really nice wrestling with the wild boys and girls. So already winded. And I know she came on Tuesday for structured play. So let's see with Miss W, we might go, are you ready? And then I'd say, go get it. And we're gonna see if I can make the toy come alive and see if she finds it somewhat intriguing. Oh, what do you think? She's like, I don't know, that seems interesting, but I'm also so tired. Mr. B would be all over this, but I didn't want him to be too wild with his legs still maybe potentially a little sore. So this one, you can see she is winded, so she may not have as much toy drive as I was hoping. But we're gonna try a little bit with the flirt pole that has the more exciting friend. So this one is a sheepskin tuggy, and she's like, hello. So I don't know if you could see the difference in her reaction between one versus the other. So if you can tell, finding the toy or the food or the item that motivates your puppy is going to be crucial for changing behavior or creating behavior or building it. So let's say, for example, she thought the other one was kind of dumb. Maybe there's no real toy drive there and it's hard to use that in a situation for training. But if, let's say, we find a toy that motivates, we could then use that for other setups as well, for teaching behavior, for reinforcing behavior, for creating connection with us versus the environment. So play has a lot of really great venues. She's like, greatest day of my life. So let's say she caught the critter and now she's like, I don't know how to let go. Maybe she's too excited. I normally like to take a couple morsels and I'm gonna go, ready? Get her attention. Ready, Winnie? Find it. She's like, where'd it go? Right here. And then I have her go and grab some of the yummy snacks. So I don't go and instantly take the toy away. I kind of let it hang out. And then I might say, you ready? And I'm gonna say, go get it. And now my toy comes alive again. So when you're playing with your puppy, I'd recommend big swooshing motions. So nothing too dramatic. Like you don't want to lift it up in the air and then have her chase it and then land funny. So especially in the beginning, and if you're not sure about your traction, make sure that you're doing this in an environment that's not too slippery. So grass is normally pretty good unless it's very wet and turns into slick mud and then they could slip and slide. So we want, for safety reasons, to have good traction. If your puppy is doing this indoors, depending on their size, I would highly recommend on carpeted areas or zones that are non-slippery. Otherwise, if your puppy's trying to do this on slippery floor, you're more than likely going to potentially cause injuries then or down the road. So that's something to be careful about. So I'm going to go, ready? Winnie, find it. So you see, find it could be a great way to gain some disengagement. And we go, are you ready? She's like, almost. Go get it. And now my toy could come alive again. She's like, greatest day. Oh, she's going to sing. She's like, I want it. I want it now. You talk to that bad boy. Nice, you caught him. Good job. So you can see for Miss W, it could be another great way to build up a little bit of woohoo and then coming back from it. Because for a lot of puppies, when they feel big things, it's very hard for them to come back and use their thinking part of their brain. So just like with us, if we get way too jazzed, it's very hard to come right back from it, back into thinking mode. So for her, the whole point of this is you're revving the engine, putting the brakes on, revving the engine, putting the brakes on. Maybe sometimes as opposed to shutting off the engine, we put it into park and we do a few other things. Good job, cutie. So right here, for even having the toy out, I'm feeding her while the toy is available. And instead we're feeding for all these lovely check-ins instead of woohoo with the toy. Chewing is still very challenging. You poor munchkin. Here, let's find another squishier one. How's that? That's better. So, but for play, I wouldn't take a puppy that's already overstimulated, overtired, or take a puppy and the only option is like go 110%. So I like flirt poles, but this should not be like the only way you exercise your puppy because we don't want to forget about the brain. So again, we're going to go, are you ready? And then we're going to say, go get it. And now my toy is alive and we're going to run, 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 run. Greatest day ever. She's, I'm going to catch it. She's a wild woman. I love that she talks to it. Oh my goodness, wild lady. She's like, hold up, there we go, good catch. So we don't want to also make the game too frustrating. So she is perfectly okay to sing sweet songs to her BFF, Mr. Flirt Pole with the funny sheepskin attachment. But if, let's say, she is getting too jostled or too overwhelmed, we don't want to make it where she always kind of loses her marbles while playing. So it's perfectly fine to get excited and have some yay moments, but we want to make sure she's able to come back from it. So if you're finding when you're playing, it's getting rowdier and rowdier or more disconnect or more and more toy play needs to happen before they finally simmer down, we may be by accident fueling that, physical athlete, but not mentally working that brain. So we want her to be able to go from woohoo to maybe go Winnie. Yes, a nice little check-in. Because if I don't even get name recognition through play, how am I going to get name recognition with a squirrel or with your neighbor or with a cat walking by? So these are all really beneficial skills because if your puppy through play can come back to you and bounce back, that means they can also come back to you and work other skills as they're building that arousal and coming back. She's like, that was exhausting. What a tired girl. Nice job, lovely. So, but if you are going to add a flirt pole to your arsenal of goodies, you could make one if you're handy. You can, again, Amazon. I don't know if Chewy's carries it, but you can shop around. Amazon, obviously, like with everything, it's kind of like double-edged sword. It's kind of a little evil to fuel the big corporations, but at the same time, it's convenient. So obviously, shop around to whatever venue you'd prefer. But I did find mine on Amazon and it was like around $30-something. They do have a smaller version. There are different brands. Some are collapsible, almost like a fishing pole. If you're handy, you could make one yourself. I would just make sure it's durable to the sense that if the puppy pulls, even though it's not a tug toy, but if the puppy pulls and grabs it, that the pole isn't gonna, get out of your hand or that the toy itself won't get ripped out and then slap the puppy or you in the process. Nice. She's like, this is exhausting. So for homework's sake, for all the beauties, remember to think about while you're with your puppy's always learning. So what are they learning? What are they mastering? What are they bringing into adulthood? So if you don't love what your puppy is able to do, remember you have pretty much control over everything your puppy does, and that's not always a good thing. But what I mean by that is they're not trying to do things to agitate us or get us upset. They're doing whatever comes natural to a dog. Just like you can't get upset at a horse for doing horse things. If you brought them into your home, it would be really, really awkward and rather dangerous. But horses frolicking in a paddock, perfectly normal to be jumping and frolicking and kicking and neighing and being a horse. So a lot of times, remember, a lot of dog behavior is very natural to dogs, but because they live in our weird human indoor house, it can be problematic for everybody. So we want to make sure that we're giving our dogs dog things to do to keep them feeling good and fulfilled, while also making sure they're learning what to do instead of the things we don't always love in our weird human world that they're stuck in. She says the sheepskin is for the win. So if anybody has any trouble finding some of these products, just check back in with me. And then I can make sure to send you in the right direction. So, but let's say she wants to start gobbling it up, as opposed to me saying like, no, that's enough, raw, and getting grumpy. She's like, no, I'm going to snuggle with it. I'm going to go, Winnie, ready? And we'll do a little find it. So we can get her up and wiggling, and then I can comfortably take the toy and move it out of range. She's like, what the heck? No thanks. She says, bring it back. So, but for all of the gorgeous guys and gals, they really did a stellar job for day number 1. I know for our other 2 gentlemen, this is not their first rodeo. They've come to the day school a few times now. And then for Miss W and Miss R, it is a newer setup, but the girls did stellar. So maybe we'll do a little recall. Winnie, come. What a good girl. Yes, you're so smart. So a little jackpot for coming when called. Brilliant woman. She's like, oh my gosh, starving. Such a good girl. We'll do a little find it, and we'll probably call it a day for this lovely lady, but very impressive work for the whole gang.